Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 7, Episode 16 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in CHIKARA history with match number 35 on our list, which is the best 2 out of 3 falls match for the CHIKARA Campeonatos de Parejas between the champions, the Osirian Portal of Ophidian and Amasis, and the challengers, Mike Quackenbush and Jigsaw, from the CHIKARA Behind the 8 Ball event held on April the 25th of 2009. I feel like this match is a real hidden gem. It never gets any talk. When it happened at the time, kind of a weird time for CHIKARA. It was like post, the big 2009 King of Trios, and things, really heated up at the end of the year with the BDK angle starting. But this whole kind of period in between, you had a lot of big matches that were occurring. You had the Fist and Colony, mask versus hair match, and so many other stuff that this match really kind of got lost in the shuffle. But it's a really great match for starters, but it also has a great story going into it, and it's got a really cool feeling because when this match happened at the time, if you go back a couple videos ago when I talked about the Osirian Portal and Super Smash Brothers title match, where it really felt like it was just going to be a solid, V1 defense for the Smash Bros, and the Osirian Portal kind of pulled the upset and won the titles unexpectedly. When this match happened, this to me at the time felt like this would be the end of the reign of the Osirian Portal, and it really felt like it would be Quack and Jigsaw's moment. So they did a really good build-up into this. Mike Quackenbush, the founder of CHIKARA, had never won a championship in CHIKARA. It was kind of his crusade to win the Campeonatos de Parejas. He was originally boxed out of the Tag World Grand Prix 2006, losing to Claudio Castagnoli, and then Claudio and Hero would go on to win the titles, while Quack had to watch from the balcony on commentary as they became the first tag champs in CHIKARA. He would work hard to amass 3 points with his partner, Shane Storm. Shane Storm would end up, having their team fall apart because, it would be revealed that Shane Storm, traded the counter to the CHIKARA Special to Ultramantis Black in order for him to use the Eye of Tyr to allow Shane Storm to pick up a victory over Hydra when he was at, rock bottom on a losing streak, and really needed that win. So that dissolved the tag team, and Quack's points went away. Enter the return of Jigsaw in late 2008. So Jigsaw, trained through the Wrestle Factory by Mike Quackenbush, widely considered one of, if not the best, CHIKARA student, at least at that time. He went on, got a shot in Ring of Honor, coming into Ring of Honor alongside Quack. Ultimately became a member of the Vulture Squad, and ended up kind of being excommunicated out of CHIKARA when he removed his mask, in which he was instructed to do by Ring of Honor book at the time, Gabe Spolsky. So there was this, heat, be it real life, be it storyline, whatever it was, where, Jigsaw kind of turned his back on CHIKARA by taking off that mask to get those Ring of Honor bookings. Jigsaw returned to CHIKARA, tried to show Mike Quackenbush that he was all about CHIKARA and help him out, and Quack would have nothing to do with it, having, just had his back turned by one of his best students in Shane Storm. So it led to this great moment at the end of the year where Jigsaw, would bail out Mike Quackenbush. They would restart their tag team to get a win in the main event of the season finale against the Unstable. So Quack and Jigsaw, they would kind of start to rock and roll on the same page. They would amass the 3 points required to challenge for the Campeonatos de Parejas in this match. And just a really, really great story, like I said, in that build-up, but also through the match itself, where you have these two wrestlers, we'll call them the maestros. They trained the Osirian Portal, who at this point, were just a little over a year and a half or so into CHIKARA careers. And in my opinion, two of the best students to come out of that, those later Wrestle Factory years where they just picked things up really, really quickly. Hence the big push they got, relatively quickly into their careers. So in this match, you feel like your story should be the maestros just completely outclassing their students on their way to picking up these tag team titles, but that's not what we get here, and the match is all the better for it. We get this great kind of complex layered story where Quack and Jigsaw, have these little cracks in the foundation because they haven't teamed together in so long. And yes, they got the 3 points, but the Osirian Portal at this point is the best tag team in CHIKARA, and they are able to exploit all of these weaknesses and all of these mistakes. There's some kind of funny bits early on where the Maestros do show that they have the upper hand. Amasis does this, MC Hammer kind of hammer dance on the ring apron, leading to a funny moment where it's Quack that goes, stop, and before the hammer time kind of like knocks him off the apron, which was cute. But we end up getting, this heat on Jigsaw, and it's building and building and building to this hot tag to Quack. And what they do is so brilliant. So Quack gets the hot tag in, comes in, gets cheap shotted by Amasis, and makes the mistake of chasing after Amasis, which allows, Ophidian to pull Jigsaw back in, and, Lucha Libre and CHIKARA, going to the floor counts as a tag, and it makes Jigsaw the legal man once again. So it was this great, pull the rug out from underneath the baby faces and therefore the audience, and having them hyped for this hot tag that just, doesn't end up happening. Basically a creative, equivalent of the old, the ref doesn't see the tag spot, right, is what they did here. So finally, Jigsaw ends up tagging into Quack. He starts to go on a little bit of a run, and then they do this great moment as well where Amasis tries to catapult Quack to the floor, basically, forcing the tag once again, and Quack holds on to the ropes, not wanting that to happen, but then ends up coming back down, back first over Amasis' knees, and Ophidian comes in and hits like a big back senton, and then of course, because it's a Mike Quackenbush match, they go to work on his bad back, and again, you get this cutoff where you get this glimmer of this hot tag from Quackenbush, but then immediately the heat starts on him, and you get this great flip reversal where, now it's Quack who's needing to make the hot tag to Jigsaw, who's already injured, and it basically looks at this point that the baby faces, are all but done for. The Osirian portal, they end up getting the first fall. Again, it's really, really clever, where they do, this moment where they turn Jigsaw's mask around on some confusion around some tags and roll them up for kind of a cheap first fall. We build and build and build. We finally get the hot tag, and Jigsaw goes, runs wild. And then we finally get the odds evened up with a leap of faith Hurricane Rana from Jigsaw, followed up by a big Quack swanton. Yes, he sells the bad back when he hits the move, and that evens it up 1-1. And then we get this kind of good little moment too, where the tables kind of get turned and the faces start to get their heat on Amasis while Ophidian's out on the floor. And this basically ends up developing into this really, really great, I don't want to call it like a super indie tag because it's not really what happens, because it's got that story element and all of that stuff intertwined. But we get all of the big moves and hot sequences you would expect, from these four guys in a big time tag team title match like this one. We do, a great sequence where Jigsaw's isolated again and has to keep kicking out because Quackenbush isn't there to make the save, which was all really good and really dramatic. There's a really great moment where the portal, kind of at a loss for what to do. They do their signature hypnotism spot on Jigsaw where Amasis kind of holds like Ophidian in a wheelbarrow when he does like the snake charmer sort of thing. But Quack's able to break that up and basically forces like a prawn hold faceplant thing on the portal, which was a really great payoff to Quack failing to break up these pins over and over and over again, that he was able to break up the hypnotism, which no doubt would have cost his team the match. Really, really great sequences, in and out of submission holds from Quack. At one point, him and Ophidian do this crazy roll-through sequence into a Texas cloverleaf, but Quack can't fully sit back and hold it because of the bad back. And their actual run into the finish here is really good because they make it seem like the baby faces, just cannot be denied that this is their moment. And if you go back a few videos, we had the Grand Championship match between Quack and Juan Francisco, where I talk about, that match really having this story where it feels like it's Quack's night and he's going to win the title, and nothing that the champion can do seems like it's going to stop him. And that's the feel we get at the end of this match, a very similar story where it feels like this is the title change. You can feel it in the air. Quack, he gets the QD3 on Ophidian for 2 and gets the QD4 on Amasis for an even closer 2. And it finally seems like he's going to win. He goes for the QD1, and Ophidian counters it into the Ophidian death grip. And Quack, he's fighting and he's headbutting it out and all of this great stuff. and it leads into a roll-up sequence, and Ophidian is just able to keep his shoulders down for 3. And it's this really great finish because it kind of, again, you know, pulls the rug out from underneath the faces and kind of takes the wind out of the sails of the audience. But, you know, you're left to recognize, like, man, like, these champions are good. Like, they pulled out that win and they deserved that win. And honestly, like, this match happening when it did and ending the way it did, it really made the eventual Quack and Jigsaw tag team title win when they beat the BDK for the belts all the more sweeter. This is a really great match in an underrated title reign that was the Osirian Portal's CHIKARA Campeonatos run. A really, really excellent match. One of the better Campeonatos matches, in my opinion. And again, one that gets no talk whatsoever. It goes just under a half hour. It's this great self-contained story, but again, even better if you know all of the build-up going into it. It's well worth your time. You can check it out, of course, on independentwrestling.tv. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and please join me again next time as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.